I've got you on here, John, and we don't have it here. How did you celebrate that racist holiday, 4th of July? Look, I haven't been in America now for a couple of years. I still visit. And I was so pissed off over the weekend watching that Cori Bush fucking bitch and Maxine Waters talk about how racist the country is and it's only for white people. And, here you got Cori Bush. She's like in the Senate, multi-millionaire, lives in a mansion. She's the senator of St. Louis, and she's saying how racist America is and that. But yet where she lives in St. Louis, the police chief is black. She's a black congresswoman. The mayor's black. The DA's black. So is she saying that all these black leaders are denying freedoms that are black people in her city, or what? It's like, do they actually think about this shit before they talk, or what? It's like crazy.
I don't think they do. I think I just think they adhere to what the mantra is, their talking points, and they don't really care about the optics. It doesn't. I mean, the optics, Lee. The optics are so bad everywhere you look. I mean, from Hunter Biden to the Olympics to critical race theory being taught in schools, the cops. Everywhere you look, the optics are horrible. So they're not paying attention to optics anymore because clearly nobody cares. So
I think we mentioned it last week, but people haven't heard it yet. But it's like I said, when you have these people who are black in positions of great wealth and power, who have got there coming up through the ranks in what they call a racist country, how can you call that country racist when it's giving you those opportunities to be where you are today? I was like, am I missing something here? If it was a racist country, you wouldn't be the congresswoman in St. Louis. Barack Obama would never have been president. Kamala Harris, like her or hate her or agree with her things, she'll never be vice president. And now we have that. I saw we talked about the other woman hammer thrower. Now I saw, did you see on the weekend they had the American soccer team?
Yeah.
The American soccer team's out there, and they got that 98-year-old veteran out from the war to play the national anthem on his harmonica. You see the people, they turn, face the flag, hands on their heart. The black girls on the team didn't turn, and they just looked in the other direction. I'm thinking, wait a minute. If you want to protest, that's fine. You live in a country where you have those freedoms and all that sort of stuff. But do it on your own time. You're right there now representing the United States of America in the soccer team. You say the United States is a racist country, but yet you're playing soccer, earning millions of dollars in endorsements for this racist country, and you can't stand and be proud of the flag and why this guy who's gone and fought for your freedoms, this 98-year-old man's playing the thing. You're not playing for fucking Joe's soccer team or Tim's Donut Shop soccer team. You're playing for the national soccer team, the United States of America soccer team, and you want to stand there like that and be a fucking spoiled brat saying the country's racist when here you are in that racist country doing what you love for a living, making money. I'm like,
right. Oh, and being appreciated for it. I mean, you're being respected for it. The thing is, it doesn't make any sense. This is what I said. The optics are so bad, it just doesn't matter anymore because nobody cares. They're wearing the United States of America uniform. They're wearing the uniform. So it's like, how can you be wearing the uniform and then protesting the it doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, it's like, if that's really how you feel, then take the fucking uniform off. Go play for some bumfucked Africa country where you can trace your roots back to. I'm sure they have a soccer team. They all do. So go play for them. Why are you playing for the United States? Why? Because they get recognition, notoriety, money, and they get to live completely outside the realm of all the bullshit that they're protesting about.
That's what I don't understand, because you've traveled the world, I'm sure, and I've traveled the world with bodybuilding, even just with the companies I've been with doing seminars all over the world, from, parts of Africa to South Africa. And even in South Africa, there's good parts and bad parts. But there's people that complain about racism and shit. Have they ever looked or stepped outside of America and been to countries where there is still oppression and there is still people being killed over races and there are still wars going on, whether it be your race or your religion? Have they ever been outside of America to see what real shit looks like? It's like the way they talk now, it's like, or even, I'm sure there's probably none alive now from who were really in 1800s slaves, but you might have a few people now who are still around when they had, sit at the back of the bus maybe, and the white and black bubblers and stuff like that. But really, do these people know what it was like? I'm sure if there were actual slave people around who were treated bad, they'd shake their heads and go, what the fuck are you talking about, LeBron? You're living in a mansion. You're almost a billionaire, and you want to talk about oppression when I was being flogged and my friends were being hung from trees and shit, and you're fucking complaining about America? It's like, how the fuck have you got to hide to complain?
You know, and I get what you were saying a minute ago about, you know, there's still some recent racist elements of society that people remember, the water fountains, the back of the bus.
Yeah.
I know
that's sort of racism too, but there's that sort of board, even though it's racism to do that, but that was more around, like, wasn't more segregation, where it still is racist.
Right. It's still, that's still racist.
Blacks go here.
But that was, what, 75 years ago? The last of that, you know, 50, 60 years ago, the last of that, you know, went by the wayside. The point is that since then, we have, you know, United Negro College Fund. We have all black universities. We have all black magazines. We have all black dating services. We have all black businesses. We have lifted, given as much opportunity for the blacks to lift themselves up as that any other country in the entire world has ever given to any other segment of their population. We have given to the African Americans, and they still stand there dripping with the trappings of all of their successes, from Oprah to LeBron to Jay-Z to Beyonce, all of them, Colin Kaepernick. They're all entitled, rich black people who got rich off of the benefits of the non-racist benefits of society, because society is clearly not racist. Yes, there's some leftover racist people. There always is going to be. There's going to be bad people everywhere. There's bad plumbers, there's bad lawyers, there's bad people, there's bad racists, there's bad people. No matter where you look, you're going to find the devil somewhere. So the idea of a clean society with no, bigotry whatsoever is an absolute fallacy. But to say that the entire country is racist based on racist principles is absolute fucking lunacy when you look at the potential benefits that all of these black people have taken advantage of, and now we're standing at the top of the heap talking down to the rest of us.
That's what I don't get. Rather than these black people who have maybe come from, because there's been a lot that have come from these gang areas, the really bad neighborhoods, who had to drop out of school maybe, and their mum was a crack addict or their dad was in jail. There's been so many black people who have come from that background and been successful, and they talk about being successful, saying if you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want, but it's your choice. Stop looking for excuses, rise to the top and be good. They get called sellouts and Uncle Toms and bootlickers, but yet you have the people like Oprah and LeBron and all these other people you mentioned, rather than coming down and saying it's a bad country, they're in the spotlight where they could be there lifting all these black young kids up, saying, look, I did it. I came from somewhere I didn't have a great background, but I was good at sports, or I wasn't good at this, but then I went to put myself through school and I got an education, and now I'm a top doctor and all this sort of stuff. Rather than say how bad it is, why don't they try and be positive and say, listen, it's not a racist country. You can do what you want if you put your mind to it. It's like, it's these attitudes that are holding the younger kids back now, because they're listening to these athletes going, yeah, it's a racist country. I always tell people now, you can be anything you want, no matter what race you are. If anything is holding you back, it's you. It's either you and your attitude or the way you come across. No one is stopping you from being where you want to be apart from you. And sadly, when you do see the ones who come out saying that, as I said, they get called Uncle Tom, sellouts, this and that. How dare you say that? And it's ridiculous. The mentality like that, it's just like, I don't get it. It's just like, it just drives me mad.
Well, look at Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is a mega rich, huge star. Okay. In an interview, he said, I never experienced racism. I don't see it. I'm a black man. And he's not only black, but he's thuggy black.
Well, that's what I mean. If you were to put up a poster of like, if you think, draw a gangster or someone, that was in the hood, you'd probably end up drawing a picture looking like him with the teeth and the hair and the way he dresses. But yet, I've seen him on interviews. He's well spoken. He has he thinks great. The stuff he says, is motivating and true. And then, like I said, someone will call him a sellout. Oh, you're giving in to the white man. I'm like, what?
But he clearly states, I have never experienced racism. If I look out at my audience when I'm having a concert, it's 90% white, and it's like, so, of course, in any of the naysayers of the black community, the ones with the chip on their shoulder are going to do exactly like you said, sell out, Uncle Tom, bootlicker, blah, blah, blah. But, if you put Lil Wayne next to Oprah, what's the difference? Difference. They both got rich off white people. Okay. So you look at Oprah's audience, it was mostly white. Okay. You look at Lil Wayne's audience, mostly white. Why is Oprah crying oppression and supporting all of this black bullshit when Lil Wayne's saying, yeah, there's racist people in the world, but America's not racist. Look at me. I mean,
I think Oprah is a good prime example. I remember seeing an interview of her years and years and years ago, way before this woke shit all started happening, where Oprah said, being a black woman going into the field she was in, the news and that, and trying to get her own show was hard. She would get knocked back from being a black woman, but she said she kept going. She kept persevering. She might have got 100 knockbacks and then got one. Yes, she got the job, and then this. So rather than talk about the country being so racist and this and that, why not talk about that? Talk about, yes, sometimes it's going to be hard, but you got to keep pushing, keep going forward. You're going to get a lot of doors shut in your face. Maybe not because of race. It could be due to a lot of things, but don't give up. Rather than just say, listen, I did it. I came from nothing. I had a lot of no's and turn downs, and also being a woman, they'll discriminate me just from being a woman because I was going into a field that was dominated by men mostly. So rather than talk about the positives and how she finally got there to become this mega wealthy woman owning TV stations and this and that, why can't they talk about that so other people go, wow, if she did it and that's where she come from, I can do it too, rather than sit back and go, fuck it, I can't do it. It's a racist country holding me back. Like
at one point, Oprah was the wealthiest woman in America.
Yeah.
And the wealthiest woman, at that point in time, the wealthiest woman in America was black.
And I even think,
how can you possibly say that America's racist and misogynistic and anti-everything when the richest, most successful woman at one point in the world was black in the country? So it's just a ridiculous point of view. But what is the point? What is the point of promoting? Like you said, you should be talking about the struggle. Nobody that I know, and you could probably say the same thing, nobody I know that has been successful hasn't gotten knocked down, gotten back up, gotten knocked down, gotten back up, tried, worked hard and pushed through and made it. I don't know anybody who just got up one day and said, yeah, I'm going to be rich today and let's go be rich. It doesn't happen. You got to work. So
exactly. And that's what I was saying to Dave too, when I come down to white privilege. I said in most countries it's not a white privilege or a skin privilege. What it comes down to is like a money privilege thing, even with Bill Cosby getting out because of who he is. He's black, so he didn't get, if he was white getting let out, they'd say, oh look, another white guy getting let out, white privilege. O.J. Simpson, there's another one. He was black, but he had lots of money. It's like there's going to be lots of white kids who won't be able to go to school, but do you think Beyonce and Jay-Z's kids won't get the best lawyers if something happened, or they won't get the best schooling? Because if you have parents, no matter what race you are, and they got good funds, it's more like a money privilege thing, not a race privilege. If you come from a family that's very wealthy, yes, you're going to have a lot more opportunities. You're going to get things quicker. And if you get in trouble with the law, if I was a poor white kid, I get in trouble with the law and I don't have good defenders and shit, I'll probably end up in jail. But if there's a black kid whose parents are multimillionaires, he probably won't end up in jail if we did the same thing. So it does work both ways. It comes down more to a financial thing than a racial thing.
Well, there's also the element of inner city living that, typically upscale white people know nothing about. I've volunteered in several schools for reading programs in the deepest, darkest parts of the city. And the struggle's real. These kids have terrible, amenities as far as schools go and school equipment, and the money has been siphoned and embezzled and corrupted out of the system completely. I mean, these poor kids have really nowhere to go. So, the the gangs infiltrate. There's definitely the drug trade infiltrates the school younger and younger and younger now. It's a disaster for some of these kids. But even so, even out of that, yeah, it makes it a lot harder. And the influence is to go down the bad road, not the good road, because, you know, I mean, there's kids that get beat up because they get on the honor roll, you know.
And sadly, too, those same kids you're talking about don't have the mum and dad at home. They might only have one parent. And then even when that parent is home, they're not really there being a parent. So like you said, the bad crowd or the elderly kids on the street who are older become their family and adults. And like you said, that leads them down the wrong path. And sadly, they get caught up in all that bullshit and stuff. But, you know, you get the ones that make it out there. And that's where these people like Oprah and that, or there have been lots of athletes that have come from that, or even that Officer Tatum, he came up through the gangs and that, and was doing that. I think one of his cousins shot 3 people and did like 75 years in jail. So he's even had gang members in his family. So he come from that, but he turned his life around and became a police officer and all that sort of stuff. So, and he gets caught to sell out and bootlicker and stuff because right now he's just saying, when are our black people going to just take responsibility for ourselves? And like you said, work on our communities. This is where it starts, in the community, no matter what community it is. But we've got to start policing our communities, because even like I said, this week on the 4th of July, I was watching one show. There was 260 people shot and killed over the weekend in the United States, but there were 700 shot and wounded. 260 were shot and killed. In Chicago, there was 100 shot alone, 18 dead. And it's like, and then we have the media and Democrats, rather than facing the problem, saying this is a problem here, from whether it be defunding the police or whatever we're doing, they won't come out and say that. Or if they even do say a lot of the problems could be black on black in those inner cities where the gangs are, even the Democrats won't say that, because if they say that, well, that's like us being racist now. It's just like crazy, the amount of people that are getting shot and stuff, but yet they won't address that problem.
Well, they did in New York. Cuomo declared a state of disaster emergency with respect to gun crime. Now, disaster emergency. Have you ever heard that term before? Disaster emergency. It's usually one or the other, you know, and you get federal funds for whatever one you.
Normally they'll throw that. I might have heard it once when maybe it was like Hurricane Katrina or something. They'll throw them both together to make
throw them both. Well, not to make light of the fact that a lot of people are getting shot. It's the fact that the governments of these cities, here you have these Democrat-run cities, complete liberal Democrat-run cities, Democrat policies proven to fail every single time. They implement them, they fail, and they're left with a problem. The answer to the problem is ask the taxpayers to throw more money at it so you can go do it again, which makes absolutely no sense. Now they're standing there after defunding the police, allowing the rioting, disrespecting law and order, doing all of this crap that makes them famous Democrats, and now they got an absolute emergency disaster on their hands, and they're screaming for federal money to help them out of it. When the fact is, they caused it. You don't have this problem in Republican-run cities. You only have these problems in Democrat-controlled cities. So you would think, rather than practice the proving, the insanity, when you do the same thing over again but expect a different result, it's insanity, which is exactly what they're doing. They are insane by promoting these policies that they're doing, by all of what they've accomplished so far has been a disaster. And now they got their hands up. The cities are burning. The murder rates are up. Crime is up. People are leaving the city in droves, which is going to drive down the tax revenues. And now they got their hands up saying, help. We need help.
But did you see, I saw a lot of videos too over the weekend where they had videos from inside the stores where people are just going in, like something like Neiman and Marcus or something like that, and they're just looting and no one's stopping them. These people are going in, grabbing what they want, and just walking out the front door. There's a couple of other stores, like a big grocery type store and other things, where the cameras show people just walking through with stuff and walking straight out past the cashiers and stuff, and no one's doing anything. The police aren't doing anything. They're out on the streets and just taking stuff out. Like I said, just like armfuls of clothing, walking out the front door and just walking off, not even worried about hiding their faces or anything, because they probably know if they get caught, they're going to get let out of jail anyway. So it's like they just walk off with all these goods. And then I don't know what happened to the lady. I watched a video probably a week and a half ago. there's an Asian police officer. He's Asian, so I'm surprised he ran away. He goes to this call in an apartment building. You see him come up the stairs, you know, those ring of doorknobs that have video in them so you can see.
Sure, yeah.
So they've got a good focus this way, so it shows the stairs. This woman comes out the apartment, and the policeman's talking to her, and he's saying, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. All of a sudden, you hear the policeman saying, drop the gun, put the gun down. The man who's having a domestic with his wife or whatever, he comes out with the gun, and the policeman just takes off and runs down the stairs and leaves her, and it shows the man standing there pointing the gun at his wife. And I'm thinking, and that's where the video ended. I'm thinking, well, what happened there? But this policeman now is too scared to either pull his gun on this guy and shoot him. He just left the woman there. I was like, the poor woman, he just ran down the stairs and left her.
Well,
so thinking,
it's going to be either him or her, you know. And when and a lot of people, you know, you're supposed to say in that position, it's supposed to be you because you're sworn to protect the public. But
exactly.
You're sworn to protect the public when you're allowed to actually protect the public. But if you're not allowed to protect,
and then if you do, and if he was to shoot, and then if he does shoot him, then he's going to be put under scrutiny, probably lose his job. And then they take it away from the police now, where you pretty much have to defend yourself and pay for your whatever. Now it's almost like, you know, doctors have malpractice and that.
Right.
The police used to have something. The police used to have something similar, but they took that away. So it's like you're screwed. Yeah, he had his gun, and he just, as soon as the guy come out, he just took off and left, and this woman's just standing there, and this guy's got the gun pointed on her. I'm thinking, my God, it's like that's what it comes to now, where the police, sadly, a lot of them are too scared to do their job.
Right. Well, not only that, it's disadvantageous for them to do their job because there's a good chance that in the process of doing their job, they're going to get sued or they're going to get arrested or those cops, go to prison for being involved in a shootout that they didn't start. And that's the way these things end. And, there's not, the numbers of them are not tremendous, but it's enough, especially now knowing that the criminals are being victimized. The victim is now the criminal. So remember I told you last show, it's all backwards. Everything's backwards.
Yeah, that's true. Because the criminals pretty much know now, chances are I'm not going to get shot. I can rob somewhere. Chances are I'm not going to get arrested. So pretty much it's like the loonies are running the fucking lunatic asylum.
They have the no bail system now. So you get arrested, you get processed. There's no bail. You go right back out. This one guy was robbed. I think it was you told me robbed the bank 3 times in one day, and because he kept getting arrested and let out.
Hey, John, practice makes perfect.
Actually, Lee, it's perfect practice makes perfect because he wasn't doing too good if he got caught 3 times in one day.
He's like, damn it, what did I do wrong there? I just take some notes.
Maybe you'll get the hang of it.
It is sad to see that when, like I said, I've been all over the world, and I can honestly say America is a lot like Australia. We have all these freedoms, we have all these things we can do, yet we have the most people that complain the most. And I've probably never been to Fiji. It's similar to Hawaii, but even maybe more back than that. There's a few resorts, but if you go outside of the tourist spots in Fiji, they're beautiful people. It's like Tonga, Samoa, beautiful island people who have very minimal. Some don't even have the big grocery stores in their town. It's like, you get your milk from the cow still or whatever, places like that. And the people there are the happiest people you'll ever meet, smiling. Even the kids playing in the dirt with sticks are the happiest, and they've got the very minimal in life, but they're the happiest. They don't care what color someone is or this or that. They just love people. And if you go into their little villages, you almost feel like family. They're that happy. But yet in our country, like Australia or America or anywhere else where we have all this wealth, you have everything you could imagine you can get from phones to whatever. Yet what we do is bitch and complain and talk about how bad shit is when you have everything there in the world. We have more than we need, and yet we still complain. It's just like, do these people that need to step back and just really look around and see what they have and just appreciate it? I don't get it.
Well, it's generational. Obviously, the older you are, the less like that you are. It's the younger generations that have this sense of entitlement, the liberalism, all of these things that are being caused with the socialist agenda, which is something they don't even understand. It just sounds good because people talk about it. But And of course, they're being indoctrinated in school from kindergarten through college.
I don't want to cut you off, but speaking of gender, did you see Como's daughter come out and she's demisexual?
Yes, demisexual.
That's a new word. I can't even keep up.
So does that mean one gender in the morning and then one later in the different one later in the day? What's the exact definition of that?
Demisexual. I was watching the show and they looked up the meaning of it because there's meanings for everything now. Demisexual is you're only attracted if you have an emotional bond. I'm like, generally, aren't you sexually attracted? Like, I have an emotional bond with my wife, but they're saying it used to be more, back in the day, it was more like women would have emotional bonds with women. So back then it was queer, but queer was a bad word back then, but now queer is a good word now. But now this whole I can't keep up. It's like
I have an emotional connection to my motorcycles.
Like, you might be able to marry it.
Now what do I do? Am I cheating on my wife?
I have an emotional connection with my cats. What does that mean?
Emotional connection with my dog. So, but I think, I want your opinion. What I think all of this, what we'll just call it all cumulatively nonsense, okay, from all of the stuff that we talk about, I think it's because the younger generations don't know what hardship is. They haven't experienced a life or death situation. They don't know what it's like to have, to immigrate over here from another country, to not know the language, to have to work hard 3-4 jobs a day, working to try to just put food on the table, and try to learn the language, try to learn your way around, learn a craft, get some kind of success out of nothing, really, what it comes down to. Instead, they get everything handed to them. Their parents don't want them to work. They don't know what a job is. If they do know what a job is, it's not meaningful. It's nothing that's they have any respect for in the long run. Their work ethic is horrible if they do work. Okay. So and all they do is gripe, like you said. All they do is gripe and moan and complain how bad thing is. This person's racist. This person's misogynistic. This person's a xenophobe. How can you let these people in here and you let them do this and that? And it's like all of this nonsense, because you know what? You never had to face a day where you didn't know if you were going to eat or not, and if you were going to sleep or not under a roof. You never had to worry about that. And that makes people soft. And the work ethic that their parents did not instill in them is the culprit here, because they don't understand what that even means.
And it's true, because sadly, the parents, I think, are at fault a bit, because, yes, our grandparents did it, our great-grandparents and our mothers did it. I think sometimes the parents, you naturally think, okay, I've worked hard, I got this money, I can do this, so I want to do this for my son or daughter, so they don't have to go through any of the struggles I had to. But they need to go through some struggles. They need to experience a bit of not getting what they want. Now it's like if they want something, they get it straight away. Back in the day, I remember saving my pocket money, mowing yards for $2.50 or $5. If I wanted something, it might take me a year to save for it. Everyone wants it now. And then they go into, the young kids now with depression and mental illnesses and stuff, where I used to say to people, how can you say you're depressed? I'm like, our great-grandparents lived through a time where it was called the Great Depression, and they survived. They lived through times where to make a meal, you had to make it from scratch. To wash your clothes, you had to wash it on one of those boards and hang it out. I said, everything you have today, microwaves, meals already prepared, you just throw it in a pan or heat it up. Everything today is so convenient where you don't have to do anything, and you're complaining. And then I was watching one show where I had a family, three sons, ages 8 to 15, the father saying they've all had mental illness and suffered depression. I'm like, at 8? Look, I can understand kids can get upset with social media, being bullied and people doing shit to them and stuff like that. Okay, but depression and that, to me, back in the old days, a mental illness was sometimes people were born that way. The wires just weren't connected properly when they were born, or someone could have been in a bad car accident, had a bad knock to their head. When somebody had a mental illness, there's always something like that. It wasn't just that one day they decide and go, well, I'm mentally ill just because it's the latest thing. And then the young kids who are 8 being depressed, I'm thinking, what have you got to be depressed about it 8 years old. I didn't even know the meaning of the word depression, but what a lot of times it is, you look at these young kids, he's 8, 9 or 10, he wants a new iPhone. I want the new iPhone 12, Mum. And Mum gets him the iPhone 10. Oh, I don't want the iPhone 10. Everyone's making fun of me. Look, they got the iPhone 12, I got the iPhone 10. Oh, now I'm depressed and I've got mental illness and this and that because you brought me a phone that's 2 years old. It's like, it's a matter of all I said. It's like you have what you need and what you want. Need is food, air, a job, money, the necessities in life. And what you want is a nice big home, a car, a boat, holidays, not have to work. And it seems now that all the wants come before what you actually need in life. So when they don't get what they want, they're depressed, they're suicidal, they've got mental illnesses because really you're just a spoiled fucking brat who doesn't get your way. And now you want to have a little tantrum. Like, remember when you were young, you might have did one where you lay on the floor and go, ah! And your mum would have to, I remember doing that once in a shopping centre. My mum dragged me outside and kicked me in the ass because I wanted a toy and she wouldn't buy it for me. So I threw myself on the floor. But half the time, if I tried that and I threw myself on the floor, my mum would walk away and just leave me. Like, where did Mum go? Give you a call over to PA. Yeah, we have a lost boy. Yeah, we have a lost boy. My mum's probably thinking, nah, fuck him, leave him there.
Yeah, well, you know, society unfortunately coddles these people and makes it worse. When I was a kid, let's say I was I remember being in 4th or 5th grade. How old were you then? But 10 years old. So this is like 1969, 1970, something like that. And I remember being one of 40 kids, 50 kids in a classroom in New York, New York City. And yeah, there was some of the kids were really smart and there was the teacher's pet. And then there was the class clown. And then there was the guys that I was part of that caused the trouble, right? Troublemakers, right? I wasn't the clown, but I was definitely a troublemaker. Then there were the kids that were kind of quiet. Then there were the slow kids. The smart kids helped the slow kids. The teacher said, you help him, you get in a study, and we all kind of made it,
Yes.
Grade and junior high school. Now they got to be on Ritalin. They got to be on Prozac, Lexapro. They got to have therapy sessions. They got to have reading. They got to have remedial classes to help them cope. They need safe spaces. They need to have support animals. They need all this shit to cope. What is the difference in 5th grade from when I was in 5th grade till they're in 5th grade? There's no difference. You don't have to pay bills. You don't have to wake up and go to work. You're a kid. You go to school, you learn. You're 5th fucking grade. Okay? Yeah. Some of you are going to be smarter than other ones. Some of you are not, but you're all going to get through it, work it out with each other. But instead today, they got to turn 30 of them into having diseases. Everybody gets a trophy for showing up. Nobody has to work. Nobody has to be responsible for anything. All their schoolwork is graded on a curve. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
Well, do you remember when, even speaking of school grading, I remember a few years ago when it came out, it could even be longer now, when I know here in Australia, teachers were banned from using red pen to grade kids' work because red was seen as an angry colour and could be disturbing to children. I'm like, where the fuck do you come up with this shit? If a teacher marked when I was at school, if a teacher marked me an X in the red or a tick in red, I never went, oh Jesus, this is an angry colour. Yeah. It's like, where do they come up with even like, that's where I sadly think that some of these, even the kids now, but I think it's even the generation just before them, because we had on TV just a couple of weeks ago, again, this doctor, she looked like she's probably late 20s, early 30s, well, doctor, or whatever they call him, like, it's sort of like a psychologist. So to me, I think a lot of psychologists are already, where she's on the TV, on the morning news show, being thing, and as I said, she was talking about how with all this stuff that goes on now, you need to give consent. This is why women get abused a lot, and there's this sexual thing, the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. We need to start it at a young age, and this is where we need to start it. So when you have a child there and a baby, before you change that baby's nappy, you need to ask permission. You've got to ask permission to change the baby. And the news guys look, well, how do you do that? She goes, yes, I understand when they're babies, they can't talk. So what you need to do is look at the child, look into the child's eyes and face, and sort of let them know this is what you intend on doing. So you're not touching them without consent. And I'm thinking, am I fucking going mad here? This is an actual woman on TV. And then she went into Once They Get Older too. We must stop it. I know you love to do it, grandparents. I know you love to do it. But this is like showing they can be touched and kissed and hugged without permission. So as a grandparent, I have grandparents too. Before you hug your grandchild or grandson, granddaughter, ask permission first. Ask them, is it okay to hug? Is it okay if grandma gives you a kiss? I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this world where we got to, it's just like, oh my God, it's like.
Apparently it doesn't apply to Joe Biden, the president. Sniff that hair, Joe.
And again, it's like.
Yeah, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about this bozo. Joe Rogan came out this last week. Now, Joe Rogan, the reason I think this is impactful is that Joe Rogan is not news. He's not, he has no skin in the game whatsoever. And he's pretty much a libertarian, so he's not for, conservative. Well, he has conservative values, but he's more libertarian than he is anything else. And that's good, because that's what we are. We believe in, take your chances, be responsible, pay your bills. If you fuck up, it's on you. Don't expect the government to help you out, and that's pretty much the sanest path. But he came out really critical of the president's mental state and said point blank what all of us see and fear here every day, that the guy is barely holding it together. He's losing it. He's not all there. And the media is going ape shit over this, right?
Wasn't it one of the things where, I don't know what it was about, but I did see it. Biden was giving a speech somewhere and he just lost track again, and he had to revert to his cards and stuff and still got meddled up. Yeah, and Joe Rogan, it's like you said, just saying what everyone else is saying and what everyone else can see. And yeah, then they're making a big issue about it. I'm like, how can you not see that?
There was one they were playing today when he's wearing a light blue suit coat, okay, and it looks like he's in a store, and he's like, and maybe another ice cream store. He sure loves his ice cream and a chocolate chip, and
it's a treat for when he does poo in diaper.
Yeah, right. When he goes potty, really, and it doesn't make a mess. So he's at the counter, and this reporter asks him a question. And he says, hang on a minute. And he gets notes out of one pocket, and he said, no, that's not there. And he gets notes out of the other pocket. He can't answer a casual, simple question without looking at notes. And then he always talks about, how, I'm going to get in trouble for this, or they're going to get mad at me.
He always says that, doesn't he? He always says that they're going to get mad at me.
Who is they? Is it your group, your handlers? Who's calling the shots in your team? And
it's funny too, when you talk about him, I have to always go back to it. I can't watch a forum, so I only sometimes catch clips and that, but that I'm going to circle back. His press secretary is like, compared to the one Trump had, this one is, what's her name? Pulaski or whatever.
Jen Psaki.
Yeah. Isn't she like the worst at answering questions that just, oh my God. And when that guy from Fox, I forget his name, gives her a question, she just goes off on the next question. That's like
how about the fact that through her, they're trying to blame the defunding the police on the
Republicans. I saw that one.
Remember, opposite day, everything's backwards. Everything is backwards. Go back.
But yet still, how many times did we see Trump come into that room and take questions from those people? How many times?
Every day. Almost every day.
Yeah. Why doesn't Biden, has he been in there once yet? He hasn't, has he?
Not one time. How about Trump on the White House lawn? The helicopters in the background, ready to take off. He's talking to the reporters. He's talking to reporters outside the plane, outside the car. Every day you saw the president and he was talking. Okay, whether you like him or not, at least you know that the country's being handled by somebody. This guy Biden is like, where the hell is he? They pull him out. They parade him around, give him a meeting, give him a phone call, put him on a plane, send him somewhere, bring him back. The guy's in bed at 6 o'clock. He only works a couple hours a day. You never see him. You never hear him. He can't talk without a teleprompter or note cards. The guy, like Joe Rogan said, is barely hanging on. And now you put all of this, Lee, into one big panoramic view. America is heading towards becoming a third world country.
Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is, it's like when you see those speeches that Biden gives, even with the teleprompter, with the cue cards, he still gets lost. Look, yeah, we'd see Trump occasionally use a teleprompter. That was like if it was addressing some big topic or if he was giving the address to the nation. But the majority of the time, that's why people would go off at Trump, because half the time he'll just wing it. He'll just say what's on his mind. If you ask him a question, Putin's done this, what's your response to Putin? He'll just come and say what's on his mind because he could put a sentence together. Well, as you said, whether you like him or not or like what he said, at least he'll give you his thoughts. He wouldn't sugarcoat it. He wouldn't try and put it in a PC, politically correct way. Trump would just tell you what he's truly feeling, what he's thinking. But I'm sure he did tone it down a bit to what he was really thinking. But even then it was great. But yet he could actually talk and go back and forth with questions. His mind was quick. He's got a quick mind thinking and stuff. So, but Biden, he just can't say anything. And like I said, even when he's got the cue card, he'll have it in his hand like this. He'll be going, yeah, and then the oil thing. But then he'll look up. And in his mind, he's probably thinking, I can ad lib here for a minute. Then as soon as he starts ad libbing, he just loses it. It's like he just train of thought's gone. He's lost the part he was up to, and and like I said, okay, I don't like the guy, but I actually feel sorry for him. The way whoever's parading him around to do this, he should be retired at home with the grandkids or just playing with the dogs or something. He shouldn't be president of one of the most. They say America's the most powerful. They have Russia now and China. It's hard to tell who's the most powerful, but let's just say America is still the number one superpower. And you have a guy like that. We know he's not actually run it, as people run it, but as him, as the president, when you see these other presidents like Putin or the guy from China and all these other countries, and then you see Biden, who, like I said, he just looks like he's taken, like, he looks like me when I had my first neck operation and I was full of Oxycontin. That's what Biden seems like.
It's frightening, really, when you think about it, and you think about Putin, looking at him. The difference between Putin and Trump, okay? We just had this big ransomware, this big hack, okay? And the biggest ransomware demand ever in history, $75 million in Bitcoin, and it's Russian language, so it came from Russia. And Biden says, "Oh, we're not sure it's the Russians." You're not sure it's the Russians. It's in Russian language. So it's like he's not sure it's the Russians. Now, versus Trump is he's going to say, I'm going to tell Putin, I got some big, beautiful nuclear missiles pointed right at Moscow, and I'm not afraid to use them. And nobody knows more about nuclear weapons than I do. And I got big, beautiful weapons pointed right at Moscow, and I'm going to push that button if Putin doesn't. And
you can see Trump. You can see Trump saying that I have nukes, and they're beautiful nukes.
Big, beautiful nukes. Big,
when I say
beautiful
big,
nukes.
we're talking big. We're big. They go boom.
And they're going to make big, beautiful explosions all over Moscow and create all kinds of damage. I know a lot about damage. I've been in the construction business. And I can tell you I know damage. And I'm going to send those big, beautiful nukes right over to Moscow and make big, beautiful holes all over Moscow.
And then he'll stand there, the look on his face and go,
Russian people.
You'll stand there, the look on his face and go, it's going to be beautiful. Beautiful.
Instead,
too, like Trump
but look at what we got instead. We got a guy who can't even say it's Russian. It's like why is Joe Biden carrying water for Vladimir Putin? Why is that? If this is the largest ransomware demand in history, $75 million, it's Russian all the way. Putin knows what's going on. There is nobody operating in Russia that's pulling a $75 million Bitcoin scam without Putin knowing about it.
And the thing is, too, Bitcoin, with all the technology they have, and I'm sure America has some of the top electronic geniuses, things like Bitcoin that's so electronic, how couldn't they follow the money trail there? It's not like you're handing over cash and someone takes the cash and pisses off.
Right,
There's so many electronic things that I'm sure they could trace it and track it and stuff like that. So even there was another thing with, wasn't it Biden's son a week or two ago, where he was with some Iranian businessman and stuff, and Biden's like, I know nothing about it. And all of a sudden, here's photos of Biden with those Iranian businessmen having photos with Hunter Biden. I'm like,
the Mexican billionaires too. Remember Carlos Slim and that I forgot the other guy. You know, they were the two richest men in Mexico, with Hunter Biden and the president. Pictures of them all together. And Biden, I know nothing about my son's business dealings.
But the sad thing is, when he says that, he's probably being truthful there because he doesn't remember. I just thought of it. Maybe he's telling the truth. He can't remember what he had for breakfast yesterday, so he doesn't know what this was.
In his mind, it's probably, it happened, it didn't happen. I don't know if it really happened, it did happen, because he's lied so much. I'm sure.
Was it a dream?
Mangled up in his brain is so many lies and half truths. Now with his failing, mental acuity, I'm sure some of those lies have some truth in it for him, and he doesn't even know what reality or the truth is.
No, I know. Like I said, it's just sad to see that of someone who's the president of such a country like the United States of America, because sadly, that the other, I could just imagine, I don't really see it here, but I could imagine like Russia after that big summit. If you were a Russian young kid or a Russian on the internet over there, there must have been so many funny memes in regards to Biden and Putin that they would have been making up, that would have been just funny.
You imagine what Russian high school kids were playing with? It's that's why I say, Lee, we're headed to become a third world country. We have the weakest leader in the free world at the helm right now. And he's only been at the job 6 months. He's got 3.5 years left. You're not gonna
make it. I know. I was watching something on the thing not long ago, because I know there was a lot of was it one of the high up commanders over there in Afghanistan was asking for Biden to do something, because how he's talking about pulling the troops out on 9/11 and doing this and doing that, and then a lot of the troops, was it just last week, got attacked. The other side, whoever they were, the extremists started launching missiles at him, and yet America hasn't retaliated or did anything, or they haven't done nothing and stuff like that. So now he's actually put him in harm's way, the American troops now, from all this bullshit that he's coming out with, pulling the troops out. But even if you're going to pull them out, why pull them out on 9/11? Just that date alone, that's a date that America likes to look back and remember the people that were killed in the Twin Towers and the planes, and then the ones that got sent off to that war and shit like that. But the pull out troops on that same day, the terrorists would just have a field day with that. They're like, oh, you're going to take them out on that day, eh? Oh, good. We know. It's like, it's stupid.
It's what's bothersome to me, as it must be to you and all of the like-minded people who think like us, is that there's a level of infuriation about this, that we see clearly what's wrong, and there's nothing we can do about it. We just got to take it, and if it was just going on, that's one thing. It's going on, it costs money, and we pay for it. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's the most annoying about all this, because all of the political nonsense of who's doing this and I could give a shit. I really could care less. But when it affects my money, when it affects my ability to buy goods and services, when it affects my freedom, when it affects my ability to go do things that are commonsensically normal, and that I can't do them now because some moron is telling me what to do, that's when it becomes problematic. So
and then the way they waste the money too, and like I said, that money could be going to, like we said, the inner schools and stuff like that, the schooling, the hospitals, the vets. There's so much where this money could be going to help and do good, and they just go off and have these little stupid ideas. And also what's infuriating is when they do that and you say it's hard to do anything about it. What I hate is when they say, okay, we better appease the people, let's go to a vote on this, And so then all the American people come out and vote on it. And it's happened so many times when the people say, yes, stop it. They go, nah, we'll take it to the Supreme Court. We'll overturn the vote. It's like, you just asked the people. The majority of Americans said, we don't want it. And now the government goes, well, too bad. We're going to the High Court. When the High Court overturns what the people want, it's like, how can you be there for the people? You're put in there by the people. You're meant to be serving the people, but you're not listening to the people. It's the same as our government here. They don't listen to the people. Yet when they come on TV, we know what the people want. We have listened to the people, and we are like, what fucking people are you listening to? China? Because everything you're doing, everything benefits another country, not us.
Right. No, that's completely correct. It doesn't benefit us at all. You know, and the idea that America puts America first is somehow offensive to, of all people, certain Americans.
Which, well, look at the trouble Trump got in when even Trump just said, look, we are the main country that gives millions, billions to the UN. I'm going to pull that money back and keep it in America. Look how many people got upset about that. I'm thinking, how can you say, like, make America great or put America first? How can you see that as racism or anything? It's like, I've always said it, you take care of your people first, your country. When your country is good, the homeless are tried to be cleared up, the ones that don't want to be on the street, you got housing for them, medical, everything. Okay, once America is, say, 90% good, then go maybe start helping the rest of the world. Don't go helping them first while you've got people living on the streets, dying on the streets, they haven't got food on the table. When you've got Americans living in that bad of poverty, like a third world country, stop helping those third world countries. Help your people first. When they're all somewhat good and they're surviving, then go help play world police. But right now we have it here all the time in Australia. Like I think I mentioned it before, when our farmers were committing suicide with the drought a year and a half ago or so, and they couldn't get it, our government's like, well, we'll give you some cheap bank loans so you can just pay it back at a low interest rate. And then all of a sudden, Indonesia has a hurricane, a cyclone. Here's 300 million. I'm like, you know, it's like the general public in Australia was raising money for the farmers to buy food for their cattle because the farmers are having to shoot their cows because they can't afford to feed them and stuff like this. And our government's like, oh, well, yeah, maybe we'll do this, do that. But yet, a week after a hurricane up north in another country, $300 million. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Well, you know, it's you can't put the country first until you start putting certain communities first. And let's circle, to coin a phrase, let's circle all the way back to the conversation we started with you know, Oprah and company. The black leaders of these communities, the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons of the black communities, including Oprah and Jay-Z and Beyonce and any black person with a voice who is supposed to be upholding their position as, you know, advisors or you know, people who are supposedly advocating for the community. They're not doing that. They're advocating for themselves because they want to be on the receiving end of that government printing press, and they're aligning themselves to do that. But if these activists and these entertainers would, instead of trying to point the finger at what white person is being racist, and instead address issues like the fatherless homes, the shitty schools, the school choice, the gang problem, the gun problem, the crime problem, all of those problems that are affecting and keeping their communities down, if they would address them with all of their millions of dollars and millions of followers, we would be in a far better place. But for some reason,
people like Oprah too and Jay-Z, you'll see them as look, you want to help people around the world, that's fine, but yet I'll see like someone like Oprah will spend 30 million, 40 million on building a school in South Africa or Africa. It's like, that's great. But what about that money in a school in America, in Chicago, in New York, in Detroit, somewhere like that 40 million there? Because when you got that much money to them, it's a tax write-off. It's all written off somewhere. It's not like they're, well, I've got to take this out of my pocket. I barely have any money. Here's 40 million. They get, you know, they're like rich as. It's like, all those people could do that. But yet help America first. It's like, look, I love seeing kids get adopted. But there's so many kids in America that need adoption. Then you get these famous rich movie stars I'm going to go over here to China and adopt a child.
Right.
I'm going to go to Africa and adopt a child. I said, look, that's great. That's good that you're giving a loving home to a child. But there's American kids that need loving homes in your own country. Why can't you adopt them? Is it, oh, it looks better when you go overseas and get someone from a third world country and bring them back to America?
Yeah, because when you're a white actress with big fake lips, it looks really cool when you have a Chinese baby. So, you know,
yeah, it's just
the fashion statement is what I'm saying. So it's really pathetic. You know, Lee, like I keep saying, it's everything's backwards. We're living in backwards world, and I always call attention to make the connection to the movie Idiocracy. You remember Idiocracy?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like that movie Tenet. Now, do you see that movie Tenet where the movie goes one way and it's going in reverse the other way?
It's like Father Guido Sarducci talking about the new planet that they found that's going 130,000 miles a second in one direction and 130,000 miles a second in the other direction at the same time. And on that planet, you don't know whether you're coming or going. So,
and you got Weekend at Bernie's running the country.
Oh my God! So
you could almost put every scenario in America right now. You could probably put into a comedy movie, sadly, or some sort of.
It's really bad, man. It really, you know, we laugh about it and make jokes about it, but living here, I mean, you must get such a kick. I know the Aussie media is having a ball with this because I watch Sky News a lot, and they got a guy that just does nothing but Biden stories. You know, the older guy with the white hair, he's hysterical. He hates Biden.
He'd last long in America, wouldn't he?
Yeah, man. He'll accidentally commit suicide in a couple of weeks if he comes to.
But it's sad. Like I said, it's just sad when you see the people like that. What upsets me the most is when, just like I said, over the last 2 years, just because of whether you're Democrat or Republican, or if you're white or black, the divide that's becoming between people that used to be friends, but they're on opposite sides of the political party, people that used to be friends, but they were black and white, but now they're turning on each other and hating each other because they're believing all this rhetoric bullshit spewing out by the media and political parties, that it's actually dividing the country more and more. It's like we should be progressing from the 1800s and moving on, getting better and better. But it looks like we're going backwards, and it's just sad to see that in such a great country. The land of opportunity is great. That's why so many people now outside of America who aren't really privy to all this, whether they're from different countries all over the world. You could probably ask anyone, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Russian, in Moscow, anywhere. Where would you like to go and live? America. They all want to come to America because they know it's the land of opportunity, a great place to do what you can do and be free. They want to come there, and yet all these people that have these freedoms and have these opportunities just want to rubbish it into the ground.
It comes down to what's going to be my parting thought, because we're almost over. My parting thought is and I want you to give yours. My parting thought is quit complaining. Stop complaining. If something's wrong, come up with a solution. Stop complaining. In order to stop complaining, you're going to have to accept the fact that you are in America. You're living in, like you just said, the number one destination in the entire world is the USA. If you're fortunate enough to be able to call the USA home, quit complaining.
And I agree. It's like, come together, work on solutions, work with your neighbor, work with friends. Yes, stop complaining. Look, America is the number one destination in the world. It's one of the greatest countries in the world. Instead of complaining about it, just embrace it, enjoy it, look at the opportunities you have. Yes, America's not perfect. No country is. But of all the unperfect countries in the world, America's the best one to be living in. And as I said, it's not perfect, but just work to make it better. It's never going to be perfect. But what you have now is better than 99% of a lot of countries in the world have. So just enjoy what you have, and just, like I said, just come together. It's like, why are we going this opposite way? I just don't see it. As I said, it happens here in Australia now too, but it goes back to the media and stuff. But people just need to, take people on their values, be nice to people. It's like, how hard is it to be nice? And then just accept people for who they are. And it's just crazy. But like I said, it's not wow, look at America. Yeah, it's not perfect. Okay, it's not perfect. We understand that. But you know what? Out of all the perfect countries, like I said, if you had a choice, that's where people want to go. So,
and that was very well said. And so basically what is going to happen is you and I are going to save America. People are going to watch this show and they're going to subscribe and they're going to hit the notification bell. They're going to know when we got new episodes. They're going to watch our shows and realize it's not politics. These guys are talking common sense. It's common sense.
Yes, and leave the comments for topics. Leave the comments for topics. I didn't bring up this topic. We'll bring it up next time. But even fucking Captain America's gone woke. I saw that comment. I'm like, now they've even made Captain America hate America. I'm like,
that's even worse than the Olympics hating the Olympic athletes hating America. Captain America. Oh my God, Lee, it's all backwards. It's all backwards.
Yeah, unbelievable. The Red Devil's taken over. Captain America's doomed. Red Skull, whatever his name was.
Yep, that's terrible. Well, we're at the end of another show. Like, subscribe.
Goodbye, people.
Because I control the buttons over here.
Yes.
Good night.
Yes. Good night. Bye.
Good night.